You are listening to the Taps and Teas Show, weekly conversations for people passionate about marketing, golf, and craft beer. Marty is the co-founder of Rhino, an award-winning digital marketing agency helping golf and craft beer brands get real results in social media marketing. Here is your host, Marty McDonald.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Taps and Teas. This is Marty McDonald, and I'm looking forward to talk to you today about knowing when to quit. Normally, you don't want to say quit. You tell your kids or other people, hang in there, do your best, keep going. But sometimes, client / agency relationship or other relationships, that are going on in the business world, you have to call it quits, right? So I want to give you a couple of examples when you do hire an agency, following up, from our last episode of, how to set crystal clear client expectations and make sure that you're following them both from an agency side and a client perspective. But I think knowing when to quit is a good one. So let me give you a specific example. Obviously, we don't mention names here on the podcast. And like I said, every relationship that I've come encountered with Rhino, knock on wood, has been a very positive one because we're confident in our team and we know what we're doing and we're going to get results, and we do set those expectations. But even when you do that, sometimes, stuff doesn't work out for whatever reason, and we try to limit those as best as possible. We over communicate, we do things like that. But you also have to understand that point that it comes to is like, all right, it's time to go. And what constitutes that? What happened? So we had a client engagement. I spoke at an event last fall. It was like October of 2018. And, had a couple contacts come up during the event as well as after the event, and then followed up via email. And it was great. I mean, we had one person in their brewery sign on right away. And we were like, okay, this is great. Had a quick phone call. They were like, let's go. I need this. I have a ton of stuff going on. Let's rock and roll. So we took it at face value and said, all right, got started to pull everything out, did our audit, did our due diligence at the beginning. Everything went well there. And then they went dark. It was odd. It was like one of those things where the invoices were being paid, but they didn't answer their email. They didn't answer phone calls. And that lasted January and February. And finally, just in the middle of February, we were kind of like, okay, there's certain pieces of this that, since we started in December, certain pieces of it that can drag on for 30 days and we can kind of make do with what we have. But our key person there, the point person who brought us on board, just vanished, just gone, right? They were busy with other stuff. They were wrapping up other things. They just wasn't there. But, the invoice was paid January and February. And we were kind of like, okay, what are we going to do here? So I wind up sending an email and, phone calls and no answer. And we got paid. So we just finished out like the bits and pieces that we could. And then we said, look, hey, should we put a pause on this? I feel like we should. What's going on? And they were like, oh, sorry, had, some personal issues, had some other business issues, all these other things, which are great. Hey, we all have stuff going on. We totally understand. And I said, well, what I'll do is we'll work through some of this. I'm not going to bill you for March or April, and let's pick this up in May, but we can handle some of these other things that we can clean up here. And they were like, that's fine. I appreciate it. We have this new website, which we were involved with a little bit, and brought in our website partner, which was rocking and rolling. But at the same time, you're like, what's going on? Like, what are you trying to do here? So when I say know when to quit, it's like, all right, these are signs that this may not be a great relationship on either side through no fault of our own, no fault on theirs, no fault on ours, just timing's bad. We have other people doing other things on their part, so they don't necessarily need us, but they feel like they do. And then we reconvene in May. So we start there and we're like, okay, let us, take a drive and we'll come meet with you. We'll talk to the other team members. We'll see what's going on. Let's get this, ship righted. And they were like, yep, let's do that. So we came up with a new plan and said, all right, we want to do this. Yes, we want to do the paid advertising and you want us to consult. Yep. Again, starting with the expectations, right? Then they just go dark, completely dark. Didn't respond to anything, didn't set up anything. At least this time they didn't pay the invoice because that would have been awkward. Been like pay the invoice and go dark again. They just didn't respond. which was fascinating because it's the only time this ever happened. This has never happened in our almost 10 years of existence. So I was like, all right. So I sent an email, and my business partner and project manager sent emails and said, hey, it's May. You guys said you wanted to do this. We can get started. Here's the parameters. Here's what we need. All we need to do is connect with the marketing person now. Let's get this thing rolling. Nothing, crickets, just nothing going on.
Hey, if you're enjoying what you're hearing on the show and want more, head on over to tapsandtees.info and get our free report with game-changing tips and strategies straight to your inbox. Just enter your info and stop being stuck with no marketing plan.
And at that point, I was like, all right, the first time you do it, okay, stuff happens. The second time you do it, is this a pattern? What do you have going on? I mean, I understand you might be going through expansion, or you might be doing other things within your business that pull you away, but no response, So like that point, you're like, what the hell's going on? And, just politely just sent an email and said, hey, we're ready when you are, if you're ready to do this. And, when they come back, if they do come back, it'll be a discussion that I have. I might not even take the project on because, past history, can dictate the future, right? So you don't want to just fall into that. But my whole point of that is know when to quit. A lot of times people sit there and they work with an agency and they're confused. Let's say they're a brewery and they're not sure what they should be getting out of it, right? It's kind of like if you go to the dentist and you're like, all right, so I have this problem and this problem. They get in there and they're like, well, it's not actually this problem. You have just a slight issue here. Well, we can fix that. You don't push back and go, well, no, I think it's this. They're the dentist. They're the doctor. They went to school. They do this, right? So sometimes in that agency-client relationship, you have to be able to put those things in there. But you also have to understand, too, if the client, in this case, that brewery, doesn't want to give up anything or doesn't want to do it or doesn't respond, what are you going to do? Like, you don't want to sully your name. You don't want to have people bad mouthing you. You just have to say, all right, well, I guess this isn't going to work out. But when they come back and say they want to do it for the second time or the third time, you don't want to start off a relationship there. It's kind of like, somebody comes into your brewery and says, wow, this IPA sucks. And then they write a review that they hate this IPA. Well, it turns out they don't even like IPAs, and you can replace any type of beer. I see it with sours all day long, or the hazy IPAs now, where they just don't like that style of beer. They're like, oh, this brewery sucks because all they make are hazy IPAs. Well, yeah, that's what they're doing right now. And, they're telling people that, and you showed up there wanting a Pilsner or a lager. And right now they're not brewing them. So go to a different brewery if you like Pilsners and lagers over IPAs. But they write their review, right? And it's confusing. So it's the same issue there is if you're not giving somebody what you want, but if you can't communicate clear expectations, like we talked about in the previous podcast, or know what you want, that time might be a time to quit. Might be on your end. Maybe you have it covered. Maybe you have in-house staff that are ready to go and they're knowledgeable, and that's perfectly fine. Wish you the best. But a lot of times you have to be able to pull that plug. So when you're sitting there looking to hire an agency for marketing purposes, you want to understand where they should deliver. We're just following through those last podcasts, what we talked about before is, know what their deliverables are, know where the money's going, know what they're responsible for, know what you're responsible for. This way it makes it a clean relationship. But I will also say too, where I find people bitch or complain about, marketing or agencies is that they're not communicating enough to get their point across. Now, the other side of it is just like the dentist analogy. Sometimes the agency is going to go, okay, if you want those types of results, you have to graduate to the next plan and you have to spend a little bit more money because we can get those results, but we're going to have to expand the paid campaign. So if you don't want to listen to the dentist and then you go back and you say, no, that's not the issue, even though they say it's the issue, and then you're still in pain, it's the same way on this side. The agency, as the expert, is telling you what you need to do, but you don't want to do it. And you say, well, still not getting any results, you guys suck. That's not right either. So sometimes you just have to walk away from that. And if you're not getting the right communication from your agency, that's a good indication that it might be time to switch. One thing that we've done at Bad Rhino for the past 10 years is we have monthly meetings no matter what. Some of our clients have been with us for 6 years plus. They're like, yeah, we don't need to have these monthly meetings, but we still ask them, hey, do you want this? Want us to review your analytics report this month? Then we have other clients where we have, 1 meeting a month just about that. And then we might have multiple emails or multiple conversations or multiple texts about other things. And that's the key. You just want to make it flow without being crazy. But knowing when to quit is key. You have to know when you need to back out of that. So, with that, I'm going to end this. We're trying to keep them quick, 10-minute bites as best as possible. Sometimes I'll ramble on. This is a little season about ranting. So we're talking about, some client expectations, knowing when to quit. So where we're going to take it next is let's go with I can't save your business. No agency can save your business. We're going to talk about some of the things that people come to us with when they're in the last throes of something. So they're like, they have an idea, they launched a business, maybe they're a year in, 2 years. I've seen them as much as 10, and they can't figure out how to increase sales. And they're like, well, we need more marketing, where the other issues may not be in marketing. So I appreciate you listening to this, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next episode of Taps and Tees.
This is the podcastfactory.com.